Hey guys, welcome to the Binge Zone. On today's video, we're looking at Umbrella Academy Season 2 and hold on. Season 1 ended with Vania blowing up the moon and the Umbrella Academy jumped into a vortex and ended up in the 60s. I am not dressed for the occasion. Here we go. Peace, love, and tie-dye. We're ready for the 60s. On today's video, guys, we're going to be looking at Umbrella Academy Season 2, looking at the evolution of the characters, their powers, and alternate timelines, just like we saw at the end of the second season. Guys, if you want the typical ending explained, the typical boring recap of the season, and then giving your opinion, this is not the video for you. But if you want a concise breakdown of Umbrella Academy Season 2, their powers, as well as the ending, and look at the possibilities of alternate timelines, definitely hit that subscribe button for more videos like this on this channel. With that being said, let's go back to the beginning scene. I'm gonna lose the shade. The glare is too much. It's too much. It's too much. Season 2 of Umbrella Academy starts off right where Season 1 ends off, and Vania blew up the moon. The Umbrella Academy jumped through a portal and they end up in 1960. However, they're scattered throughout the timeline in the 1960s, the early 60s of Dallas, Texas, and number 5 is the last to arrive. And the moment number 5 arrives, he sees that the apocalypse is happening again. But before he sees that, we get a glimpse of the Umbrella Academy and their newfound powers and abilities. And we already know number 5 has time travel and time manipulation, and that's how he appeared. But we see Vania flying and has total control of her powers. I want to go ahead and break down Vania's abilities right now because this opening sequence right here was beautiful and it shows us just how these characters have grown throughout the second season. So we're starting off with Vania. Now, last we left Vania, she was hitting the crescendo and blew up the moon using sound waves in order to generate a focus blast and blowing up the moon, and using energy tentacles to suck the life force out of her brothers and sisters. Now, you have to ask, how is her power of sound manipulation doing all of this? Well, to understand that, we have to understand something major of Umbrella Academy, and that's the fact that the Umbrella Academy leans heavy on their pastiche of the X-Men. Think about it. Rich billionaire adopts kids, trains them with their powers, right? X-Men 101. But then this season 2, think of it like X-Men Evolution, or better yet, X-Men First Class. Because not only are they uniform in sync with the same outfit, during the 60s, they're in the middle of armed conflict between the Soviets and the Americans. JFK is the president and he is at the heightened sense against the SSR. And then you have them fighting both sides at the end, and they have synchronized uniforms. This is X-Men First Class Umbrella Academy Edition. As we saw in the opening sequence, Vania stopped a rocket from hitting her with a shield, boom, causing a barrier and flying. Her powers are sound manipulation, but to a more upbeat degree, it's more like electromagnetic manipulation. I know what you're thinking, electromagnetics, magneto, moving metal, but it's not just limited to moving metal. Electromagnetic manipulation is also affecting the electromagnetic spectrum. And Vania does this using sound waves and sound energy. That's why she's able to pick herself up, fly, create force fields, and throughout the season, we see evolutions in her power. There's a scene in this season where Vania gives life to somebody and transfers some of her energy to that person, showing an evolution in Vania's character. As her mental state evolves and as her character grows and develops, and she becomes one with her feelings and one with who she is, we see the evolution of her power. Not only that, we also see that Vania is able to fly, create force fields, and actually control her powers in short bursts, as opposed to needing a big crescendo violin concert to blow up the moon. That is because Vania's power, the power to manipulate sound waves and the electromagnetic spectrum, that power and that ability, electromagnetic manipulation, has a wide range of different uses and a wide range of different ways that you can actually manipulate and use that power. And the more evolved you are, the more powerful you become, because the electromagnetic spectrum is one of the fundamental forces in the universe. If you can manipulate light, metal, sound, anything that actually has a frequency, you can tap into the electromagnetic spectrum and actually become as powerful as Vania. Moving on to the next character, we see that Klaus is able to summon soldiers and actually conjure them to do damage. We saw this at the end of the first season where he conjured up Ben and had Ben use his powers to toss around some of the guys. Here we see him bringing back dead soldiers and controlling them. So Klaus's ability to actually tap into the forces of life and death, summon people, conjure them, and have them do his bidding is an evolution of his character. And throughout this season, we know that Klaus has been running a cult. And because he's been doing this, his emotion and growth as a character was stunted throughout the season, and he was unable to tap into the full force of his powers until he reunited X-Men style with his brothers and sisters. and actually summon those soldiers, which is a key factor in the entirety of Umbrella Academy. It's the emotional stability of these characters. Throughout the first season and throughout the second season, especially dealing with their dad, Reginald Hargreaves, we see that these guys are still emotionally stunted, but this second season is an evolution of these characters. Their emotions are evolving, their thought processes, them as characters are growing, and with their growth, their powers also grow. And then we see Allison do this.
Hey!
Much more than this.
I heard a rumor that I blew your minds.
This is beyond anything we actually thought Allison could do, blowing someone's head off. I know at one point we knew that Allison can control people and tell them what to do, but for her to actually say, I heard a rumor, this happened, and that actually happened as opposed to someone doing it, she blew their heads off. And to me, that's a shot to all the people who actually said Allison's character was trash and her abilities were met throughout the first season, because Allison's growth as a character happens throughout the season, and we see that she actually is involved and actually does things as opposed to having the plot happen to her in the first season. You see, keeping up with this trend of evolution. And then we have big boy Luther. If Luther isn't the poster child for daddy issues and emotional instability, his powers prove otherwise. Because here in the opening scene, Luther takes a rocket launcher to the back and doesn't even flinch or bleed or hurt. But then later on the season, when he's going through his problems, he actually gets shot by a bullet and dies. We see this with every Umbrella Academy member. Their powers are either super broken or super trash, depending on their emotional state. And when Luther is surrounded by his family, being number one, being the leader, and is actually embracing his gorilla body, right? He can tank a rocket launcher. And when he's unsure of himself and feels emotionally down, not only does a regular human knock his ass out, but Diego's girlfriend actually beat his ass up. And because of those two beatdowns, we see that his powers waver depending on his mind state. And that's why he's able to get shot in one scene and also another scene, tank a rocket launcher and punch a hole through a brick wall. Now, one character with supreme evolution in their powers is Diego. At first, we thought Diego was a low-rent Batman throwing knives and curving them like Wanted, but with knives, which is kind of trash. But then Diego here is displaying the ability to manipulate kinetic energy. Not only does he dodge and bend all the bullets out of his way, in the final scene of him using his powers, when he Neos all the bullets, stops them in midair, and then redirects them, granted, not to the control of Neo, because Diego's still emotionally unstable. But once he does that, I'm sitting here like, okay, I saw growth in Diego, and this season could be called the Diego season, because to me, Diego was by far the funniest character throughout this entire season. And that's because not only is his character growing and understanding the world around him, but also because he's being challenged. And the fact that he's funny as shit. Like, if we're being real 100% honest, Diego was always a hard ass, but this season, him being a hard ass and then being a clown with it really did something for his character that added evolution to his character. And that is how we see all the characters and their powers evolve in the first fight scene. And we see that number 5 is actually learning to hone his time travel abilities. And we see him rewind time in a controlled fashion at the end to save the life of his brothers and sisters. And that gives me a better question to ask you guys. Who is more powerful? We were teased at this fight during the season where Vania and number 5 confront each other and almost fight. So I want to ask you guys a question in the comment section below. Who's more powerful, Vania or number 5? Let me know. Now for the juiciness of the ending, the Sparrow Academy. After everything that happened in the season finale, they travel back to the future and they find themselves back in 2019, right before the apocalypse. And 2 things of note here. 1, it's no longer called the Umbrella Academy, it's called the Sparrow Academy, and Reginald Hargreaves has been waiting for them. And 2, Ben is alive. This means one thing. The Umbrella Academy subscribes to the many worlds theory, and because of that, they're actually in an alternate future that isn't their own. And that's why there's no Umbrella Academy, it's the Sparrow Academy. And Reginald from 1963, where they were and how they affected the timeline so much by being involved in all the Kennedy stuff, actually shifted it. Think of it as a branch that split 2 ways. Their actual future, which gets blown up by Vania, and this future in which Reginald Hargreaves is alive and Ben is the leader of this new Sparrow Academy. And that leaves us with many questions. Question number 1, if Ben is alive during this time, that means he never died because he was never a member of the Umbrella Academy. And these new students are characters that Reginald actually went out and adopted. So he didn't adopt these Umbrella Academy kids that we know. He adopted these guys. And that brings up a question of duality, duplicity, and coherence. In this universe, is there in this timeline, because that Luthor never traveled back to the 60s, is there a Luthor running around this universe? Is there another Vania? Is there an alt number 5? These questions will be addressed in the second season, but because of the many worlds theory and just the way the Umbrella Academy works and different timelines and running into yourself, we can be sure that there are alternate versions of these characters. And now we have 2 sets of Umbrella Academy. We have the one that we've grown to know. We have the one in this alternate future that does not belong to Reginald Hargreaves. Damn, belong like they're his prop. He treats him like property, so belongs to Reginald Hargreaves. And then we have the Sparrow Academy with this Ben, who doesn't know the Umbrella Academy, but they know him thoroughly because he's their brother. And their timeline, which goes to add the various different timelines in this universe, adds to show us that the Umbrella Academy follows the many worlds theory. There are diverging timelines, and the evolution of their powers means that they're also emotionally stable enough to deal with this future, I hope, because damn, are they emotionally stable enough to deal with this after all the shit they went through? But guys, the fact that they actually are in an alternate timeline means that there exist multiple Umbrella Academies, and we already saw that characters who died in the first season actually come back in the second season. So I would not be surprised if the Handler is back, because again, alternate timeline means alternate characters. And the Master Switchboard that Diego was actually a part of, he saw Vania blow up the thing. So that timeline never happened, but it did in the Ultimate Switchboard, which plays a major key in differentiating different timelines. The Master Switchboard is like a crystal mirror that peers into different timelines and different events and possibilities. So not only are we getting different Umbrella Academy members, Sparrow Academy, and Reginald waiting for these guys because of what they did to him in the 60s and letting themselves be known. He actually went out and recruited the Sparrow Academy and adopted the kids because they set him on that path, as opposed to them setting himself on. Yo, this time loop thing is really hard to break down, guys. We also see that they alter their own timeline when they actually push the old number 5 through the portal, and he ends up in 2019 to save the world again. And we finally get an answer to what happened to the fire extinguisher that Klaus threw. One of the deepest questions of the first season. Why did he throw that, and where did it go? But the question is not where, but when. Well, anyway, guys, that's my explanation for the second season. Hopefully it gives you some clarity. And if you guys want more videos about time travel, alternate universes, check out my videos on Dark and the OA, where I break down alternate timelines, alternate universes in a more scientific way. And it gives you a better understanding of just what I'm talking about when it comes to the many worlds theory. But guys, that's it for this video. Give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, binge on.